Hi, welcome to another episode of Her Story Hour, or another week of Her Story Hour. Whoa, I don't even know where to start today. My podcast episode this week was going to be different to what it actually is. Yesterday, I had a terrible day, so I thought let's just do something different. Because I want to do something when I'm acting on raw emotion or how I'm feeling, so yeah. And also, so far this year, I've told you every episode that I've been good, so there's got to be some sort of balance. We can't be feeling good every day. Come on now. As much as I try to be positive, and I am more positive, you can't be good all the time. Yeah, I'll tell you about what happened to my day yesterday, and then we're going to get into how it fits with this podcast episode. So, yeah, yesterday I had a terrible day at work, and I know it happens sometimes, that's life. Sometimes work is bad. But yeah, it just wasn't good. So what happened was, basically, without going into too much detail about my job and what I do, I have to call people and do assessments and things. I work from home, so that's a very lucky privilege that I have. But I have to call people and do assessments, and the assessments are quite long-winded sometimes. They can take around an hour. Average one would be 40 minutes to an hour. Most times I do it in an hour. But I had 2 of them, and they were 2 hours long. So then obviously I was really set back, and I was about to start my last assessment at 4 p.m. when my work was supposed to finish at 5. I don't get paid past 5. And that would mean I'd finish the assessment at 5, which is fine, you think. But then I have to do another 40 minutes to an hour to type it up. Basically, back before we moved companies, because we've transferred over to a different company, back before we moved companies, if we couldn't do that assessment, although they were probably not really overly happy about it, they're not going to overly stress us. They're going to say it's fine. As long as you tell your manager, you tell them what's happened, absolutely fine. But this one, if I had said yesterday that I couldn't do that last assessment because I physically felt so stressed and I felt like I couldn't do it, they would have just told me to do it another day, because my boss has said that to me before when I've said about going to appointments and stuff, because our old place was like, oh yeah, if you have an appointment, that's fine. You can move this appointment here and there, or you can just cut one out for the day. It's fine. They were very flexible, very nice. But not at this workplace. They say if you have an appointment, then doesn't matter, you've got to fit it in somewhere, so whether you do an extra one another day or come in on your day off, you've got to do it. Which is fair enough. I get they're trying to meet numbers, but at the end of the day, you're not thinking about your employees' mental health and their well-being, because the job is quite stressful in nature. The things we hear on the phone are quite hard going sometimes, and the time limit to do things is not enough. There's 101 tasks for us to do, and we can't, in my opinion, can't do it reliably in the time that we've got sometimes. So sometimes you'll be lucky and you'll have a great day. All of them will be so easy. An hour, less than an hour, the type up is easy, smooth, it's great. But sometimes you just don't have that, and yesterday I just didn't have that. 2 cases back to back as well, and I was so calm throughout the day, and then when it got to the point where it was just coming up to 4 p.m. and I was just still typing up the last one, I was thinking, well, I'm panicking a bit now, because it wasn't even if I didn't have something to do after work, I would have been fine. But I had an appointment after work, so I actually had to leave my laptop dead on 5 and go. But yeah, anyway, my boss said, we'll allow it for you to type it up when you come back. So I did the assessment, went to my appointment, came back and typed it up. But I thought, what a cheek, allow it. I'm actually working outside of my hours here. If I didn't do that thing that you're saying you will allow me to do, then I will not be doing the assessment. So I don't know what you mean. I'm doing you a favour, actually. But anyway, it just annoyed me. And the whole ethos of the company, which is that we're working with quite a lot of people with mental health, and we're trying to make them have the best experience possible and help them as much as possible, but they don't think about us. It's quite upsetting, because, again, just to go into a little story about me before I get into you. Well, actually, let's talk about what I'm going to say in this podcast is about the 9-to-5 life, the burnout, the stress, how everyone is it feels like everyone that I talk to is struggling, they hate their jobs, they're not living their best lives. So what I'm going to do is tell you about my experience last year, because it was a big reason, my job was a big reason for my stress and what led me to go on a downfall, I think. I'm going to tell you some of the practical tips that helped me, because although yesterday I had a bad day, I do actually have a lot of things that are helping to keep me grounded and helping to keep me a bit more positive, because this time last year, this time last year, I would have been in a really different position after having one bad day to what I'm in now. And also, just give you some just general work life tips and things, because I think I've actually, in my head, clearly sorted out what it is that can help you to sort of overcome the feelings of burnout, stress, and start to plan a future that works for you, basically, is what I'm going to say. I don't know how to word it, but you'll see as we go along in the episode anyway. Yeah, I'm just checking the battery on my laptop because it's dying. It didn't charge. And by the way, I might look a bit different later, because I need to pause this episode in the middle of me talking and come back to it later, because I've got an appointment to go to as well, but I'm trying to manage my time a bit more effectively. So yeah, just starting with how I was feeling last year. So I think I said in another episode, I can't remember now, but I was having a really bad time last year. So the big reason and the big factor in me feeling so down, I was I was depressed, stressed, anxious. Those were the big three things. And the biggest reason or contributor to that was work. I absolutely hated last year. I could sit there and look at you and say I hated the job so much. And I thought my only option is get out of that job and find a new one. And that's desperately what I was trying to do. I was applying to all sorts of jobs, even things that weren't in my field or my niche. Like I've been to university, I've got a degree, but I was looking for things outside because I thought, where do I need to go next? I just need to get out of here. And it didn't really work. I don't know, that's another thing I was going to talk about actually, is that I've seen so many people saying how they're applying for jobs, but they're not going to get, I don't know, it seems a bit crazy to me that there's so many things going on in the world, like companies, businesses, all of this, and people are struggling to find work. I don't understand why it's so difficult these days. But anyways, off track, I was looking for jobs, and every day I was working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I thought it was the best option. Now my opinion has changed a bit, but at the same time, I don't actually know, because I've also done in the past 12-hour shifts where you're doing 3 shifts in a week, and I feel like that kind of is a bit better, but it depends how much you like the job. If you really like the job, then it's manageable to be staying there for 12 hours, but if not, then because the thing is, when I was doing that 12-hour job, I was on my feet constantly all day. I couldn't, and when I got home, because I was on my feet for those 12 whole hours, I was exhausted, I was done, and then my days off I would spend recovering because I'd feel so rough. But then I had a 10-hour job, which was different. It was so much better, and I could have stayed there for an extra 2 hours because I was able to sit down, take my time, go a bit slower with things. So that job would have been better for me to manage in a 12-hour way. It just depends on the job. But yeah, what I'm saying is, anyway, so yeah, last year I had so much stress on my plate, and I ended up getting so burnt out and stressed out because I sort of said my life had come to a real low, and I wasn't sure of my purpose in life. It wasn't just work, there was other things as well that were going on. And yeah, I had to take myself to the doctor in the end because, well, I'd called the crisis team and they ended up booking me in to see the doctor as well as part of the plan, because funny enough, when I called my GP myself, they told me that they didn't have any appointments, but once I called the crisis line, then they did fit me in, which is great. But it's like, well, why was there no appointments available, and suddenly I had a whole choice of appointments? I don't know, a bit shady. But anyway, yeah, I went to the GP, and then he signed me off I was off for basically 2 months in the end, I think, and he put down burnout and stress, but also it was anxiety and depression, but I think because of how much I was talking about work, that's what he put. But anyway, that time off gave me such great reflection, and I don't know, it was just so good to sort of rest and recover. And actually, I did feel guilty at the beginning because I felt like I was letting my workplace down. Okay, let me just say this to you. If you feel like that, if you need to take a day off for your mental health, or a month, a week, whatever it is, or you can't do certain things for work and you feel guilty, don't. Because you know what? As soon as you leave, then they are going to replace you. I'm sure you've heard that a million times. You are valuing them way more than they value you. So yeah, just don't. You need to put yourself first. You need to put yourself before anyone else. And that sounds hard probably if you're not used to doing that, but yeah, you need to actually put yourself first and try and remove the guilt, because you know what I've learned is it's not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility to care for other people's emotions. I mean, obviously don't be an idiot, but what I'm saying is I used to worry about how my boss would feel or the stress that she would have to go through if I'm not coming in. But don't worry about that. It's about you and your recovery. Rest and recovery, you know what I mean? And if you can't make it into work, don't, because if you need that one day off, I'm sure in the long run they'd be more grateful that you've had 1 day off or 2 days off, whatever it is, rather than leaving or having months and months off because you can't manage and you've got into burnout or breakdown, which I think I was very much on the edge of a breakdown, very much. I've only got 12% battery, it's not looking good, bruv. How did I come out here on 40% battery and then it's died? Anyway, I'll continue shortly, but yeah, I think I need to actually just go and then come back to you in a bit when my laptop's charged with more of the story. I had to move to my room, as you can see, but honestly, I couldn't deal with the laptop. I keep dying. No, my time's precious. So we was talking about how I was so stressed out last year with work, and basically it did actually end up to me being burnt out. And in that time, I actually ended up finding myself, and I think I've said it like a million times before, found out all the things I love to do, found time for myself, and finally had a different mindset to things. That's how I'm here today to tell you some of the tips that I have in order to make your work your work life more enjoyable. But in saying that is just, for example, if you do like your job, but some of us don't even like our job. So the first thing is think, first of all, A, am I going to stay in this job, or B, am I going to find something else that is actually better for me? Do I need to get out of here as soon as possible, or is it sustainable if I just make some small changes? So my first step to make some small changes was, I was looking and I was thinking, is there anything I can do in terms of reducing my workload? So can I sort of reduce the number of things I do in a day, or can I change the way I do things around and put them in a different order to make it better for me? In my case, no, but at your workplace it may be different. You may be able to do that. So because that wasn't available to me, I decided to drop a day. So instead of working Monday to Friday, I was having one day less. So I chose, I think I've been... I don't know what that black mark is. So yeah, instead of Monday to Friday, I decided to drop a day. So I decided to drop Wednesdays, which is what it is today. And it's actually really, really helped the week just go by a bit quicker, which is not always what you want, because I don't want my life to go by fast, but it actually makes working more manageable. So I know that I've only got to work 2 days before I get another day off or another 2 days off, which is so much more manageable for me. It makes me feel so much less stressed. And say, for example, yesterday, Tuesday, where I was so stressed, if I would have gone to work today, my productivity would have not been good. I would have not been a good employee. I wouldn't have done a good job. And it actually shows, because my work does get audited, and the work that I do when I'm rushing or I'm not fully in it because I'm stressed is always the ones that get scrutinised and always not good, where I've got to make changes and do certain things. So it just goes to show that if you look after your employees, then they'll produce better work. But sometimes your employer won't make sure that they're doing that, so you've got to just take control, put things in your own hands, and recognise that the employer doesn't look at you as in, well, most employers don't look at you and think, well, what can we do to make their time the best? They're just going to want to get out of you what is best for them. So maybe they've got certain targets to reach, understandable. Maybe they've got a certain amount of work that needs to be done, understandable, but they're going to just push you to your limit, basically. In most cases, they'll try and get all they can out of you. So just slow it down. Tell them what you need, what's going on with you, and they should be able to listen to you. And if they don't, then you know that they're not a great employer, and you probably do need to find somewhere else, because they're not going to be a bit more flexible with you. And even just to go part-time, I guess my hours can be considered part-time, I'm not really sure. But to even drop a day or do what I'm doing is a big privilege. I know that I do have a privilege to a certain extent, because some people couldn't afford to do that. And for me, realistically, I can't. I needed that extra money, but I just had to weigh up and say what is worth more, my mental sanity and my clarity and myself and my happiness, or money. And at the end of the day, although money is a big thing to me, yeah, realistically, this day off is really needed. So that's a good place to start. Once you do that, you might see that even though you've changed the way you're working, you might see that it's still not working for you and you need to look at something else. So get out there, job search. I've actually got an employment advisor. It sounds very bougie, doesn't it? But I got it through the therapy and the counselling through the mental health team, because I said that my work was causing me a great deal of stress. And it's great. It's actually a great thing, because he's helped me with my CV, with covering letter, and as a sort of encouraged me or pushed me out of my boundaries a little bit, to not just look at things in my field, because there may be other things that I can do, which I agree with. And yeah, just sort of made the process a bit easier. And he said he's going to sort of stay with me until I can sort of land a job that I want and be a bit happier in where I'm working, because obviously right now I'm not really. I mean, I did sort of change my mentality around, which has made the job so much more bearable. So, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but just before you do think about moving on, and say, for example, you've gone through all that where you've changed the way you work, still not good for you, also consider, when you're looking for roles, is there a role inside the company that I could take, like a different route? Because if you like the company, the people you're working with, you like everything about work apart from your actual role, it could be another role for you inside the company. But if not, then you can sort of look outside and search for other roles. And you know what? I saw a TikTok the other day. I just wanted to mention this as well. I saw a TikTok the other day, and it literally said, do you actually really hate your job, or is it just your mindset within the job? So are you going to work and thinking, oh my gosh, I hate this is not good, negative, I can't think of that many things to say, but all the negative things about work basically is that what you're thinking when you start your day? Whereas if you start the day by saying, hey, today's going to be a great day, think of something positive about your job. So I would say, I can work from the comfort of my own home, I can sit in my fluffy socks, I was going to say take a break when I want to. Technically I can't because of the way my things are scheduled, but technically I can. If I want to take my break at the beginning of the day, in between things, and I can, and at the end of the day I kind of can. Just try and think of all the positives of the role. Like, if you get to interact with great people, you get to hear people's stories, just any little thing that will get you through the day and change the mindset a bit on work, that helps. And also what I've said to myself is, again, on TikTok I see so many people that say they're unemployed. I think I mentioned this earlier, I can't remember now, I'll cut it out if I did. But just to be so grateful for my job, because there's so many people out there that are unemployed. Although half me thinks it would be so great, no stress, nothing. In reality, would I really like that? Probably not. I'd be so stressed out because I would have no money to pay my bills. I would have no money to do anything fun. I wouldn't be able to live because I would have no money to survive, and it would be a very stressful time. So although it's hard sometimes when we're going through things and things don't feel good, because by no means at all we should be saying that we're going to be feeling stressed, and it's okay to feel stressed and bullied and overworked and not having a work-life balance. That's not okay, but also at the same time, just a bit of positivity and being grateful for your position is always helpful. And sometimes going through these like hard jobs or hard times can actually make us more grateful for the future, give us sort of fire in our belly and a bit more, I don't know, you know what I'm trying to say, like if you're in a job that you're comfortable in and things are not wrong but you do want to progress and go up, you're less likely to make that switch. Whereas when you're somewhere where you're so unhappy or stressed or burnt out, that's when you're more likely to make the switch and go somewhere else. So try and think of it in a more positive way if you can. So the things that I did, like I said, to try and manage was first of all, drop a day. Secondly, in terms of like making my life more enjoyable, because job is part of your life, I try to fill my outside time out of work with things that I really, really enjoyed, and try and do it with calming things where you haven't got to think too much, because sometimes we can spend all day at work thinking, talking. Sometimes we just need to switch off. And for me, that would be by reading, or I like to create things. So like I'm creating the podcast, and I also used to enjoy like making the YouTube videos on my main channel, which is just such a way for me to just switch off and not think about other things and just create. And sometimes I enjoy like gem art, painting. I'm not saying I'm great at all of these things, I'm just saying that it's just something free. And also like colouring, just anything that can turn your mind off. Sometimes it's just good to have that time to not think about work and other people and responsibilities. And it's good to have that kind of thing as well, because when you're at work, sometimes for me, I think, well, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm going to do this, so I can't wait to get to that part of the day. If I get through work, then I can get to that part of the day, and it just makes it a bit more easy to get up and go to work and get through the day, knowing that I've got something at the end of the day to look forward to. Wow, I don't know if you've even realised, but my thing stopped recording, and I didn't realise, so I just carried on talking. So I'm just going to hope for the best that you've got most of what I just said then. But yeah, just think of a side hustle. Anything you can that will make you money is what I was just talking about. If it did cut off, I don't know. But that can be anything. Like if you enjoy TikTok, YouTube, upload there, and it doesn't have to make money straight away, as long as you're enjoying it at the time. That's what's important. And then you can make money from doing things like selling your items, clothing items, thrifting cheap items, designing over them, and then selling those again on like clothing selling sites, and all like digital products that people can buy, like planners and merch and things like that. Or you can, if you enjoy cooking, you could sell like cookies and cakes, whatever it is, set up a business like that. There are so many different hobbies that you can do, and so many different businesses that can stem off of that. And you can search, like, just write a list of your hobbies, and then just even Google search or go on ChatGPT or AI and just write a list of, just say like businesses related to whatever it is your hobby is, and then I'm sure so many ideas are going to come up. Or even just go on TikTok or YouTube, Google search for ways to make money online or ways to make money by doing this hobby, and I'm sure something will actually just come up. And like I said, it's not even bad, because if you don't make any money from it, it's actually something you've enjoyed doing. It won't be like a waste of time. Whereas if you're starting a business that you're not generally interested in, it's probably not gonna work anyway, because you need to have the interest in it in the first place. And if it does flop, then it is going to be seen more of a waste of time. So yeah, just having that sort of side hustle also is something that's helping me get through work. So doing this when I'm working, I think, well, at least I've got my podcast, something that I enjoy. Other ways to get out, it doesn't have to be just by the normal way of finding a 9-to-5 job, because this is what I was going to say is, like, for most of us, 9-to-5 jobs or a working life is not really great. It's not bringing us much joy or much satisfaction, because all we're doing it for, realistically, is to get the paycheck. And as much as we say we enjoy it, like, is it really that enjoyable? And I saw a comment, actually, again on TikTok. I spend too much time on there, and it was just a TikTok of someone showing how they made money, and someone commented, and they were saying how about people being lazy, and then the lady commented and said, oh, well, I've got a degree and I do this, and just because I earn minimum wage, you're calling me lazy? And the guy commented back and said, well, maybe you should have been smarter with your degree. Like, why would you choose something that's going to earn you that much money? And that lady did the same degree as me, by the way. And I thought, oh yeah, the reason I did that degree was because I thought I was doing something I enjoyed. But also, equally, what I think is it has to bring you some sort of profit to at least allow you to have a comfortable life. Because for me, I can go and do something I really enjoy, but then if it doesn't allow me to live my life freely and be financially stable, then what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Because although my time at work may be okay, because it's something I enjoy, my outside life is going to suck then because I can't do anything. Do you know what I'm trying to say? There has to be a bit of a balance between both. So it's got to be something you enjoy and something that's going to bring you a good level of money as well. Also, I think I'm just flipping back and forth now because I don't know. I've lost my train of thought because this thing has messed up so many times. So hopefully I can put this together cutely and nicely. But also, an important thing as well to do is to make sure you plan your time. So similarly to having hobbies and stuff, make sure you plan your time out. So you're going to be working from this time to this time. But before you go to work, what are you going to be doing? Is there any hobbies or goals or things you want to achieve? And after work, what are you going to be doing? The reason my life was so bad was because I'd be stressed out at work all day and then I'd have no plan for what I'm doing afterwards. So then I couldn't even think, my brain just felt melted. I couldn't think about what I was supposed to be doing. So for me to have a schedule and just say, okay, I'm going to do this hobby and I'm going to do this task that needs to be done, this adult task like shopping, washing, cleaning, whatever it is, to have that planned out already is so much better for me because I know what I need to do after work, which means I'm getting the things done that I need to get done and I'm not feeling overwhelmed, and then I'm also getting to enjoy my time. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like the main thing that I want to say is just don't let any employer take everything from you, because I felt like I really owed something to my employer and that I should be grateful for them and I should do everything for them. But in reality, you are what comes first and you have to be putting yourself first because, like I said, they're not going to think of you and you have to do what is best for you. So just make sure you're enjoying your life outside of work and doing things that you absolutely love doing. And just even when I said about planning your time, try and plan time where you're going to actually sit down and have time to fully search for jobs, because it can be quite draining. And if you just think, I'll just have a quick look, 10-minute look here, it's not really going to be enough time, because if you think about it, you've got to search for the jobs. There's so many different fields and avenues to go down. And then there's like the actual application and writing the cover letter. Once you've done a couple, it should be fine because they're pretty much going to be similar. But then if you're applying for different roles, you might have to edit and adapt things, and it's not really something you can do in a quick amount of time, I don't think. So you've really got to sit down and set time to do it. So maybe just set yourself a goal, I'm going to apply to 1 job this week or 2 jobs, or I don't know, however many jobs you feel manageable. Set down a small specific goal of how many jobs you're going to apply to, and then I think you should hopefully get a good momentum going and find something that you really love. And sometimes it's just about trial and error and you don't love certain things. For me personally, I think it's easy for me to say because I don't feel like I could get a job that I would hate more than this one. So I feel like any move would be better than this. But yeah, when you are looking for jobs, make sure you weigh it up, the distance, is that okay for you? The working hours are okay for you? The pay is okay for you? And for me, the reason I'm taking longer to find a job is because I'm not going to settle for less. Unless it's something that meets those needs, then I'm not going to go for it. And sometimes I read things and I think, gosh, that job sounds so boring. But like my employment advisor was saying, is you'll be surprised sometimes when you go into jobs that actually what they involve, because the way they word things makes it seem so formal and there's so many tasks and this and this and this, but actually when you get into the job it might be completely different to what you think. So just give it a chance. If it meets the main criteria that you need, then just go for it. And what's the worst that's going to happen? You've tried it and you decide you don't like it. You can always go back to your last job, I suppose, if you can, but I wouldn't even say that. I'll just say there's always somewhere to go. Just so have something that you enjoy doing in your actual life, have people to rely on and talk to. Job search as much as you can. Keep a nice work-life balance. Don't let them stress you out too much. Find that side hustle that could become your main hustle. And I think that's how to deal with things in a nutshell, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to say anything else because, again, my laptop is dying. Sorry, it's not your problem. So many technical issues today, apparently. But next week's episode should be a bit more calm and collected. But I just wanted to rant because I don't even know if I ranted too much to you, but yeah, I just was really fed up and having my life dictated by someone else, and the way I felt stressed, it's really cool. Why was I so stressed over what I get paid to do? I don't know how to explain. They pay my bills, but they shouldn't be controlling my life. So food for thought, really. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's probably, like I said, fairly short because of the technical issues, but you know what, we'll be okay. And yeah, don't forget to make sure you subscribe so you can find when a new video comes out. If you're on YouTube, you can click the bell notification so you can get notifications. But I am posting a new episode every single Wednesday just to talk about things I've gone through in life, to sort of try and help you feel a bit better, give you some practical tips, practical advice, and maybe laugh at me as well along the way. Yeah, thank you so much for watching or listening, and I'll see you in next week's episode. Bye.